Hey, what's going on? Of course, it is me, Quita, aka Malaysian Quita, and I want to welcome all of you freaks and geeks to Sin TV Gaming. I have a lot of explaining to do, but before we get to the explaining, I wanted to give a first look, like a first overall look of this graphics card that I have. Let me tell you, freaks and geeks, I never thought that I would have a new graphics card in my hands right now. I know I should not be getting emotional over a graphics card, but this has been a very long time coming. Okay, so let me explain to you a little bit about what happened for me to get this. And this is the EVA 4 GB Geforce GTX 1050 Ti super clocked graphics card. So this will allow me to play my games in 1080p. And for most of the time that I've been doing episodes for Sin TV Gaming, they've mainly been in 720p. And I truly, truly want to apologize for that. But I was working with what, I had. So what ended up happening was the graphics card that was in my build ended up failing. And I mean, it failed miserably. It failed so bad, freaks. Man, I was so upset. I was very angry. And that's the reason why I have been gone for as long as I've been gone once again. Besides some of the health problems that I was having, but then some of the health problems that I had were coming back. And now I am feeling so much better, but I'm not going to waste any more time here. Let me show you what's inside of here. I cannot, once again, freaks, I'm telling you, I cannot believe that I have this because so I ended up getting this graphics card off of Amazon. And what ended up happening was it was supposed to take an additional couple of days for it to get here, but it ended up getting here yesterday. And it was such a blessing for me. Let me tell you, it was such a blessing. And I was so shocked, like so shocked. Okay, so when you open it up, of course, the graphics card, I have to say, and this is just a first look. This is not an actual overview of how the graphics card actually works, because that's going to be when I am going to be playing the games I'm going to be playing for the show. So then you will see the improvement in regards to quality. So it's very well protected, I have to say. So this is what it comes in. And then, okay, let's continue to open this. And then I will show you how it looks like. And you always want to be careful when you get a new graphics card, is you gotta be gentle. Okay, so I can't believe I have this right now. So here it is. This is the 1050 Ti. And yeah, it's really well constructed. I have to say that. Now, before you put this in your build, most importantly, I know this will sound like common sense, but you really do need to take the actual plastic off of the card itself. And then I always make sure to check if there's any more that I have to take off. But it is one fan. Now, they do make versions of this graphics card with two fans, but from what I've been reading, it's really not that necessary, to be honest. But this is a very beautiful graphics card. It is well constructed. It has also here, it has a DVI-D. So hopefully it works with the monitor that I use for gaming. If not, then I'm going to have to get a new monitor. So here is the actual part that I'll be using to plug in my monitor. So as you see, it's a DVI-D, and apparently you can't use the DVI-D to like VGA kind of adapters. Apparently, from what I've read, they don't work. And then you also have a HDMI, which is going to be very important if you're looking for more higher end resolution display. So you can use that. And then the final one, if I can like actually get the thing out. Okay, there we go. Now, the last one is what's called a display port. So a lot more higher end monitors use that. So that's pretty much, this part is going to be the part that's going to be sticking out of your build pretty much. So those are the ports there. And then here, this is the side here. It is one fan. So that's all you really need. And what's really nice in regards to this graphics card is that you just plug and play. You don't have to really, I mean, you can install like the latest drivers if you want, but just to get yourself going, you just plug it in and, you know, into your motherboard. So here's another thing as a disclaimer. You want to make sure that your motherboard is going to be compatible with the actual slot of this particular graphics card here. And then, of course, they have this other protector here. And then this is like the actual, let me do a better job of showing this. So that's the actual slot that you'll be sliding the graphics card in, but I'm going to put this back on to protect it. So yeah, overall, they did a really, really good job with not only the packaging. Will I be buying another, what they call it, like EVGA graphics card? Absolutely. I really was very impressed with how it's packaged. I like the fact that it's smaller because the build that I have, I don't really have a lot of room in regards to my slots, because for my motherboard, I have two PCI slots, and then I have two PCIe slots, which are already being used right now. So one is for the graphics card, and then I have another thing that I'm using it for as well. But yeah, I am very impressed with this. This is very well packaged, and I am really, really looking forward to seeing how my games are going to be like in 1080p. Can you believe it, freaks? 1080p is going to be absolutely amazing. And of course, we have Lady Shadow. So, hey, what's going on? And of course, it is Chandler. Hey, how you doing, Chandler? And you know what? I'm doing good. My day has been, it was pretty interesting. I am really tired. I've been working so hard this week. It's like I don't even have energy to complain, really. Like, really. So, so yeah, hey, I appreciate you and all of you for checking out today's episode here on Sin TV Gaming. So I have a lot of explaining that I have to do, so I might as well get into it. So this is what happened. So first off, why I have been gone for so long. Well, Well, first it started with my build completely not working. For some reason, because see, the current graphics card that I have in my build only works for DirectX 11. But this one, this new graphics card that I just showed you, the 1050 Ti, has the improvement of DirectX, Microsoft DirectX 12. Now, here is the problem, okay? And I'm going to go through this in detail because I think there's just a lot of, there might be, not to generalize, but there's some people that are just not aware of some of the issues that are going on with the whole DirectX 12 thing. Now, are there games that are optimized for DirectX 12? Yes, but there are few and far between, and most of these games, from what I'm seeing, are like triple A. They're called triple A titles. So that's like, for example, games like Tomb Raider and like stuff like that. Like those type of games are going to be more optimized for that. But here is first, that's the main issue. Okay, one of the main issues is that there's not a lot of games that are using the DirectX 12 for now. But the other issue is that I decided to be really, of course, smart and do the update to what is called the Windows 10 Creator Update. This is like supposed to be, the newest update. Now, here's the thing, and this is a mistake that I did. You want to wait until everything is kind of finalized with it, and then Microsoft, releases that update, and then you can get it that way. So what, the previous version of Windows 10, this is just my opinion, I would stick to that one because it seems to be the most stable. Now, don't get me wrong, I have had a lot of issues with Windows 10. So many issues with Windows 10. And now, don't get me wrong, Windows 10 is actually it's a really nice operating system. But there's just so many problems from a gamer perspective with Windows 10, because Windows 10 in a way is kind of designed for gaming in mind, besides other things, but I'm looking at it from a gamer, perspective. Definitely improved graphics, definitely, and improve so many improved type of features that you can use with Windows 10. But for me, and most of the games that I play, they tend to be more compatible with Windows 8.1. And to me, and I know this is going to cause a debate, but I'm just going to say it because it's my opinion. I personally feel that Windows 8.1 is much better than this Windows 10 Creators Update. And there are so many people, and I mean so many people, that are currently having a problem with the Windows 10 Creator Update. So please, I am just letting you know, do not update to the Creators Update until these issues have been taken care of. Because for me, I regret going to Windows 10. I think I should have waited maybe a year or two for Microsoft to kind of work out their issues with it, and then it would be okay. And then there are some games too that are not working in Windows 10 right now. So I'm kind of debating whether I want to go back to the previous version of Windows 10 that was stable for me, or to go back to Windows 8.1, and then I would have to go back to Windows 10 in the future. And that's the thing I'm kind of really debating on right now, is seeing if that's really something that I would like, to do. So that's the reason why I kind of had to put a hold on doing CinTV gaming, because my graphics card went out, Windows 10 was acting up, and I'm trying to kind of figure that out. And so I had to, of course, buy a new graphics card. And I also am still buying some games for my PS3 because one thing, and this is an update, these are the games, the type of games that I'm going to be focusing on for Sin TV gaming. So I will be focusing on, of course, RPGs. I am a huge supporter of RPGs. We're going to be playing a lot of what they call JRPGs on this show because it's something that I really enjoy them. The storylines are just so well done with a lot of these games. But I also want to show games that are more retro. And the reason why is I think a lot of times there's always this debate, amongst gamers about retro gaming versus, the newer generation of consoles. And then, of course, PC gaming. Now, for me, I have all three for the exception of the PS4. Someday I'll have that as well. So that way, because this is just me. Overall, the PS2, the PS3 is really known for their RPGs. A good majority of, the collections that are made on both of those consoles are mainly RPGs and like fighting games and your sport games and your like shooters. But yeah, I mean, if you are an RPG person, then I highly recommend getting a PS2 and getting a PS3 and kind of just waiting out the PS4 until the collection really starts to get bigger. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good titles that have come out RPG wise for the PS4. But there's still a long way to go in regards to really seeing, and I would like to say really seeing a even amount of different types of RPGs. I just feel for the PS4, all these RPGs that are coming out are like all the same. And I was kind of really disappointed a little bit in the newest Final Fantasy as well. I really thought that it was going to be a lot better, and it just seems to me the storyline is really dry, and I was just not really impressed with it. But hey, that's just me. We'll be focusing on that. We'll also be doing mobile gaming as well. Mobile gaming is the future, whether you like it or not. Mobile gaming is really changing the perspectives of what is a gamer. I think a lot of times people think of gamers as people who either play console or PC. But now mobile gaming, a lot of these games are pretty comparable to, I mean, it's not going to be exactly sometimes like PC gaming quality, but it's getting there. And phones are getting more and more to the point of being a computer. I mean, it's pretty much a computer. It is a portable moving computer in a way, so yeah, the smartphones are really doing a good job in regards to the gaming market now. And there are a lot of companies like Square Enix has released a lot of games that you can play on your phone. And even like, okay, so yesterday I ended up getting Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic just because this was a game that is put in such high regard as a very essential RPG to play. Now, am I someone who really likes Star Wars? I could care less about Star Wars. It's just not my thing. But just from looking at the gameplay itself, I was very impressed with it. And I really wanted to try it out. So I actually got it, and I'll be playing those type of games as well. I also will make sure there's so many games that I really want to make sure that I play for you, but I gotta make sure I get some Final Fantasy in there as well, and some games that you may have not even heard of. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing with Sin TV Gaming from a gaming standpoint. But Sin stands for Smart Intelligent News. So I felt that it was important to me to cover things like multiculturalism type of stories, doing interviews, giving unique perspectives to things that I think often are not talked about in an intelligent manner. And that's something that I represent, and that's something that I'm really passionate about, and I stand very firmly with. Is I think it's important to talk about the multicultural perspective intellectually. I could talk about it in a very stereotypical way, but what would that do in regards to the improvement of making, for me, I want to make sure that the perspectives of people of color are given in a fair way, but I also want to make sure I integrate it by being multicultural. I don't just want to give a one-sided perspective. So I'll be doing that as well. And then, like I always talk about too, pop music. I really like pop music. I'm really interested, especially in the multiculturalism part of pop music as well. So I'll be getting into that. And hey, I enjoy country. And I just don't see a lot of people of color really talking about country. That's not the only reason why I'm going to be talking about it on the show. But I feel that country music is a very unique genre that for some reason there are very few people of color that have been successful. So I'll be talking about that, and I'll do, reviews and things like that, stuff that you're, familiar with my other show, which is called the Curvy Metalhead Show. So if you're into rock and metal news and me just being a complete loser, definitely watch that show as well. No, I'm being ridiculous like I always am. So I'll be kind of talking about that stuff, but this is going to be more of my, my geekier kind of side with Sin TV Gaming, and my more, I would say, intellectual side in regards to talking about multiculturalism in news. We'll talk about it in entertainment. And then, of course, my other show, Curvy Metalhead Show, that's going to be your rock, your metal, and alternative culture. Now, I will do, because I know many of you want me to do like movies with like geeks in it and stuff like that. So I will do, for example, an excellent movie that I want to do a review on is the Revenge of the Nerds movie series. These movies are great. Well, the first two, but we'll get into that. I'll talk about stuff like Ghostbusters and just giving my interesting perspective. And I just love being a geek, being this, this geek that loves things that that don't always get talked about. So that's what Sin TV Gaming is going to be about. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened. I mean, I'm so sorry that my build failed. And I've been away for such a long time. And oh, how can I forget? We'll also talk about anime too, because I love anime and I love talking about it. And I especially love I like the anime series that are not popular. I hate popular anime. Sorry. The reason why is just because it's just, when something's popular, it's boring to me. It's because everybody just likes it because it's popular. But I tend to like those series that are not popular, because then it gives me the opportunity to bring different types of shows that are unique. I'll also too be talking about the Japanese dramas, the Korean dramas. I'll talk about K-pop. I'll talk about Chinese pop. They call it C-pop. J-pop, that kind of stuff as well. Many of you know that Asian people, I always say Asian people are my people. And I just really love Asian pop culture. And I just love Asian culture, period. And I appreciate Asian men. So hi, Asian men. I appreciate you. No, I'm being ridiculous. But yeah, we'll get into that, news, those type of news stories as well. So you're going to get a little bit of everything. I would say the best way to describe Sin TV Gaming is it's just multicultural entertainment news. That's really both of my, my shows are just really, I just like news a lot. So That's just the direction I kind of decided to take it. And of course, I do my interviews, that kind of thing as well. Because that's just who I am. I like to review and critique things, and I like talking about news. So I just kind of felt that was the perfect way to do both of my shows, because many of you really enjoy when I kind of talk about these things. And yeah, that's why I decided to kind of do it. And then I'll also talk, on my perspective on, interesting things. So every week there'll be like a different theme. So it comes to what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so this week on Sin TV Gaming, what I decided to do is I wanted to really kind of start it off really interesting. And I really want to talk about stereotypes. So it is stereotype week here on Sin TV Gaming. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of stereotypes, but I particularly wanted to start off. This is what I want to start off with. So it's going to be stereotypes week, and we're going to start it off. We're going to start it off with the issues between Black women and white men. And this is why I decided to talk about this. It's just because it seems to me that Black women being with white men, it's nothing new, of course, but it's a very popular opinion that seems to be positive and negative at the same time. We're going to talk about it, of course, from an entertainment perspective. So I'm going to be kind of talking about examples of different movies, TV shows, but then I'll also put in my personal opinion, of course. So yeah, so it's going to be stereotypes week. We're going to talk about, of course, the issues between Black women and white men. Now, as a disclaimer, this is going to be very honest. I am not going to hold anything back. So if you are not comfortable with strong opinions, if you are not comfortable with understanding interracial perspectives, I do not recommend checking out these upcoming episodes, because it's going to be I'm going to be very, very honest. And I know that sometimes my honesty always tends to, people don't like it. People don't like it, but I'm going to say what needs to be said. So I'll be kind of looking through different different movies and things like that, and then the following week I'm going to do it in reverse, and I'm going to talk about stereotypes between Black men and white women, and we're going to talk about stuff in between, because a lot of times when Black men go out with white women, there's this kind of stereotype that some Black women have a problem with it. And then of course when Black women go out with white men, there's always this stereotype about Black men having a problem with it, which is not always true. So we're really going to get into it. I'm just going to give my opinions in regards to it. But that's the reason why I just wanted to kind of start off with that, because it's something that's always been interesting to me. It's something that's always been it's always been funny to me how people how people see that. I don't know why there's so much particularness to it, but yeah, it's going to be good this week. And of course, Lady Shadow has a question here. It says, do you know Japanese? No, I do not. I really wish I did, because then I would probably have a Japanese husband by now. But I'm being ridiculous, of course. But yeah, I do not. I mean, I wish I did, but I'll just be honest. Yeah, Japanese does take, to even be fluent, and I can even say decently fluent, it takes years to be decently fluent in Japanese. It is a very complicated language, just like Chinese. Okay, Mandarin and Cantonese, It is a very, very complicated language, and you really have to be dedicated. If you're going to learn Japanese, Chinese, or any Asian languages, I'm just saying, okay, you need to be dedicated to it. You need to immerse yourself in it, and you need to be speaking it frequently. Yes, you can say that can apply to any language that you may learn, but for some reason with Asian languages, there's just a lot of really unique honorifics that are involved with it. So you have to really, really devote yourself to understanding the language. It's very important. That's just me. I feel Japanese is just one of those languages. It's really up there. It is a very, very complicated language for a reason because of a lot of the honorifics. And there's just a lot of just really, really unique terminology that only if you lived in Japan that you would understand. So I think if you're going to learn Japanese, you've got to, besides taking classes, you got to physically go to Japan, and you really got to spend time there. And then you pick it up quick though. From what I've been learning about, Japanese culture, is the language itself, you got to pick it up if you're going to like get around Japan. So, you know, it's very important to kind of immerse yourself in a language and then go to the country. It just makes sense to do that. But Japan is expensive though. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, trust me, just to get Japanese RPGs is not cheap. Okay, I've been really blessed that I always seem to find these things on sale if I'm lucky. But for example, like Star Ocean, I got Star Ocean, the international version, for the excuse me, my throat has been really dry, so you'll have to pardon me. But yeah, I got Star Ocean, so that should be coming soon. And then what else? I have a lot of games that I really want to be able to play. But also to coinciding me talking about stereotypes this week, I will start showing my gaming collection because I know many of you freaks wanted to see it. So I'll show you it, but it's going to be in parts because I have a decent amount. I mean, I'm not like a big collection just because I don't have the room for that. But I am very blessed to have the collection that I have and the games that I have. So I cannot wait to show you that. So that'll be coming up in the next like couple of days. So I gotta make sure that I show you it. It's really, really, it's very unique to me personally. Yeah, a lot of RPGs, that kind of good stuff. And also, Lady Shadow says, I hate popular anime too. Yeah, I just don't like popular anime. It's just, and then of course, people really get into it with the popular anime. So it's just like, if you don't know everything about the popular anime, it's like people just are just, they think like you're not a real anime like fan or whatever, which is kind of lame if you ask me, but hey, that's just me. But yeah, so that's pretty much why I've been gone. Man, I cannot wait to start gaming again. I feel like I'm going through like gamer withdrawal. Like I feel like I'm like something is missing. Why am I not playing some type of game? Like I just like to do that. Like after I come from a hard day's work, I just like to like sit down and maybe play some Revelation, because these are some of the games that I'm going to be playing. Oh, I forgot to mention the format. I just want to clarify some stuff, okay? So for the format in regards to the game, I'm going to be playing each game for the month. And the reason why is just because I noticed that I really was not taking the time to really go through a game and understand it. I think it's very easy to kind of do variety where you're kind of excuse me, where you're just kind of, you play a game for a little bit and you stop playing it. I just want to make sure that I'm actually playing my games. So I'm going to play a game for a month. If you have suggestions of games, let me know, and then I'll add it to my list of games to play, because I actually have a list of games that I'm going to be playing for you freaks. So I will go through and add it to the list and then play it. So what I'll do is I'll play the game for a month. At the beginning of the month, I'll just start playing it. I'm not going to go into explanations or anything. I will wait until the end of the month to give my overview impression. Now, I will kind of talk about some basic stuff, but mainly I just want to kind of see overall. This is a question that I'm going to answer with every game, is I want to see how multicultural it is, because that's been an issue in regards to a lot of games. Is there's very few games that have African or African American, women or men in the game that's like not stereotypical. And then on top of that, I also would like to see if there are games out there that have like an interracial perspective, because I've always wanted to have a video game that has a lot more interracial couples in it, because it's a reflection of our society. Now, I get it. There are some games that are going to kind of be designed in a way based around the story. That makes sense. I get it. But I think that if you're going to show this, you also have to show the other side of the perspective as well. And that's just me. I think that's very, very important. Wow, these are really good questions, Chandler. I really appreciate this. Okay, so Chandler also asked, any tips for anyone who wants to start streaming games? That is a good question. Where do I begin? Okay, so being ridiculous once again, like I always am. Now, if you want to start streaming games, these are some of the things you have to consider. Number one, do you actually have the hardware requirements to be able to stream decently? Now, I'm going to be honest, okay? There's two different ways you can stream. You can stream off of like a laptop, or you can stream off of a desktop. Now, the desktop is going to have more power. Now, they do make gaming laptops. Like, for example, Asus has a very popular series of gaming laptops. MSI also has really well-respected gaming laptops. And in the whole PC gaming community, there's always been this interesting like debate, okay? And what this debate is there's three things: console versus PC, like the PC gaming versus like PC gaming on a desktop, PC gaming on a laptop. But there's also the debate of pre-built versus custom built. Now, my build is custom built because I wanted to make sure to have a build that was made specifically for what I need. And here's the other thing. If you're going to get into streaming, you need something called money, okay? Having a nice computer costs money. It really does. And especially for streaming, you got to have decent speeds to be able to stream. If you do not have decent speeds or a decent computer, I would not recommend streaming, because one thing you'll realize if you decide to stream, people are very particular about the quality of your show. And the better resolution your show is, often that's the more people will respect you, and the more people will be interested in watching your excuse me, your stream. You also have to figure out what kind of games you want to play. Do you want to be a retro gamer? Because there are a lot of really popular streamers that just focus on retro gaming, or they focus on a particular series of gaming or a particular style of gaming. Other streamers like myself are more like commentators, where you may review a game, you may give first impressions, you may just want to game and talk about other stuff, because that's very popular too. Is some people they don't even play the game per se. Well, they play the game and talk at the same time. That's something that I need to work on, because a lot of times I'll stop the game just to talk. But I'm a very passionate person. So if there's something really I want to talk about, or I'm really engaged and I feel that me playing my game is not going to, I may take like, breaks here and there. But yeah, there's all different types of streamers out there, and you don't have to be a type. That's the other thing that I've kind of been learning in regards to streaming games, is when you start, you feel like you feel this pressure to be a certain way. And this is not everybody, but this is just from what I've seen from my experience. You feel pressured to be like a certain way. And the other thing you have to be prepared for too is criticism. Sometimes you'll get criticism that is so crazy that it makes you not want to stream. And you have to really be strong enough to handle ridiculousness, because that happens as well. Sometimes you'll get people who are like, why are you playing this game? This is stupid. You should have this, this, and this. At the end of the day, you have to play what you're what you're happy with, what you're comfortable with. And at the same time, it's good to listen to the constructive criticism that your audience may be giving you, because sometimes it's people who want to help you get better at what you do, but you have to do what you like. And you have to do game streaming for the right reasons. It's because it's something that you enjoy. Like I've always said, if it got to a point where I did not like doing Sin TV Gaming, and if I did not like doing my other show called the Kirby Melhead Show, I would be done. You have to have some type of happiness with whatever you want to do. But this thing in particular, you got to have a lot of patience. You have to, you also have to be knowledgeable about what you're talking about too, because that's something that I had to learn over time. When I first started gaming, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just playing games because it was fun. But then over time, I started to kind of figure out what it is that I am good at and what it is that I like doing. And for me, it's being a commentator. That's something that I feel that I'm good at, at describing things, at explaining things, at giving my opinion, and giving a unique perspective to things. And this is stuff that you figure out by doing it. And it takes time to kind of sometimes figure out what works and what doesn't work. So that's pretty much all my tips that I can give. But once again, like I always say, as a disclaimer, everybody's experience is different. So I'm not, do not look to me as a source of success, because success is going to be different for everybody. And here's the other thing, you may not be successful at all. So you have to be prepared for that as well. It's always good to get yourself educated. Education is important. Like there's so many times people are like, oh, I love entertaining and I'm good at this and I'm good at that. But are you educated enough? That's the thing. And a lot of times when I say that, people don't want to hear that, but that's the honest truth, is that you have to be educated in order to be the best at what you do. And education is not necessarily a degree for some people. For me, a degree is very important. That's just me. It kind of helps you to become more grounded, and you also kind of learn different, you learn different experiences and disciplines and things like that you can apply to a show that you're doing. But do not take what I say as absoluteness, because everybody's experience is different. I'm just talking from my experience. Am I successful? No. Am I to the level like other people who stream games that are very, very popular? No. Will I ever get there? I would, I pray, I would hope so. That would be great. But I keep myself open minded to know that I may not get there, and that's okay as well. Some people like to play games just as a hobby. Other people play games professionally. And I will say, playing professionally and playing a hobby, like a hobby, are two different things. And then, are you willing to invest? Because I have invested in doing this. And I have made sure that I have gotten the best that I can get. I mean, I spent a lot of money getting this new graphics card. It is an investment. So you have to recognize that you're going to be putting money into this a little bit. You don't have to put a lot of money, but as you grow and as you get bigger, you're going to be spending more and more and more and more until you get to the point where you are really successful, and then you don't really have to like worry about that per se. But now things are changing, things are different, and for me, I do this because it's something that I enjoy doing, and I don't kind of look at myself as trying to be popular. I look at myself more as someone who is a commentator, someone who likes to talk about news, and someone who likes to inform and educate. And that's how I take it. If you take it in a way where it's like, you're just trying to be successful, sometimes that's kind of like setting yourself up for failure in a way when things don't work out the way that you want them to work out. Now, once again, when I say this and I'm a realist, people don't want to hear realism. People would rather have me say, oh, you're going to be successful. I can't guarantee that, because success is definitive on the individual. So when I say what I say on this show, it's just coming from my experience, and I am not here to give guarantees. That's not what I'm here for. It's not. So I appreciate definitely the questions, but I just want for all of you to be aware that you may, success is something that it happens for some, and then it may not happen for you. I mean, not to be such a downer or saying that you would never be successful, because that's just not in my nature. But I have to be realistic. To entertain is a very tough thing, and it puts a lot of pressure on you sometimes. And there are a lot of high expectations that if you don't meet to those expectations, people can lose interest in you, or people just don't care about you, period. And then you have to continue going on because you like doing it. And then eventually, if you're really, really blessed, and you end up like someone like Jennifer Lopez, or if you end up like someone like Lady Gaga, or if you end up like one of these famous kind of streamers out there, it's definitely a blessing. Can it happen? Yeah, but it's not something that happens often. The days of being successful are kind of over. It's a different time now, and you have to kind of adjust yourself to these type of times. So I'll just put it that way. I mean, that's just how honestly I see it. I don't mean to be a downer, but I have to be realistic, because I think a lot of times there's a lot of misconceptions in regards to what I do. And I think a lot of times people just think that, this is all that I do, and there's more to it. You have to do research. You have to, especially, if you're dealing with games, sometimes there's a high expectation of knowledge that you have to know. And some people, well, I'm not going to generalize here, but some people expect you to know certain things. And if you don't know it, it's just a huge upset to them. And then, you start to lose your audience, and then you kind of sit down, you're like, why am I doing this, and that kind of stuff. And that's the process that sometimes you go through. But for me, I do this because I enjoy it, and it's something that I like to do, but it's not all of who I am and what I aspire to be. And you have to have that mindset if you want to be successful in anything in life. I don't care what it is. You always have to prepare yourself for failure. Not saying that you're gonna like fail. You have to be persistent and continue being good at what you do, right? But you also have to have in the back of your mind that if you fail and things don't work the way that you want it to work, that you're okay with that and you continue on. And that's the realization of not only what it takes or what people like, what some successful people do. Because look, successful people are always working. They're always striving for excellence. That puts a lot of pressure on you. And then you have an audience too that's getting bigger and bigger, and then they have certain expectations of how they want you to be, but you have to be you. And that's why people like you, because you're unique, and people, a lot of people respect you for who you are. But then you get to a point where people want for you to do certain things, and if you don't do it, it just causes debates and just craziness. So you have to be prepared for that as well, and you have to have very, very, very tough skin. Because if you cannot handle criticism, if you cannot handle being made fun of, and especially I have to be more specific for people of color, if you cannot handle racist things being said to you or just things about your culture. I'm not saying that these are things that happen all the time, but I'm just kind of being realistic, because being a multicultural person playing games is a completely different experience. And I have done research on it. Sometimes it's really good, and there are good things that come out of it. People really kind of respect you, that you're from a different culture and stuff like that. But other times, people are going to make fun of you for being a person of color, and that you being a person of color, you shouldn't be playing games. That's not acceptable. So these are all the things that I think about. And then, sometimes when you guys say the things that you say, now these are things that I have to think about sometimes. I have to strive for excellence all the time. I have to make sure that I look my best. I have to make sure that I'm presenting the things that I'm presenting the best way that I can. And I also have to make sure that I'm taking constructive criticism properly, and not being facetious. And then I'm, investing, spending money on games that I'll be playing. And then look, I had to get another graphics card. I actually got another gaming mouse. As a side note, I had to get another gaming mouse because my other gaming mouse failed. And I just got it. So I'm not trying, today's episode is not me trying to discourage people from trying to, stream games, but there is a lot of requirements that are involved that you have to make sure that you are complete with. And you also have to make sure that you are happy and content with what you are doing. So that way you are not consumed by negativity. So that's really what it is. I'll be completely, that's just me being completely honest. So that was a good question, actually. That was a very good question. And I really appreciate that question because it's a good question. A lot of times the best way to answer that question, you're kind of talking more about the hardware, but I just want to talk about the whole experience. You know, some people cannot handle being made fun of. And you have to be prepared for that, especially as you go, you know, as you grow and as you go along. But you also have to make sure that you also have other, you know, goals and aspirations as well. Just because, and I've seen this, sometimes people get so involved in gaming that if it doesn't work out, this is a particularly, this is like more of being a like a professional gamer. Um, if you don't make it, that's pretty much the end of your career. So you want to make sure you always have a backup plan, and then you do this as something that you like doing. And then eventually, as you know, as you understand gaming, you get better at it. That's how you get more and more advanced, and then you kind of build upon that. So yeah, that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it. It's just how I see it. But it's not an easy thing. I will say that much. It is not an easy thing. I've had to do a lot of research and work to get to the point where I'm at understanding this. And even when you get to a certain point, there's still things you have to learn. And then as soon as you think that your build or your computer is ready to go, no, it's not. It's not. There's always something new that comes up that you may have to update. And then when you have a custom made computer, you have to really study and learn how the computer works. So then that way you can figure things out on your own per se. But here's the thing. If you don't know how your computer works, get a professional to help to fix your computer. Or get someone who really knows how to fix computers. You know, because it takes one thing to like mess up your computer, especially if you have something that's custom built. I mean, the only thing that's nice about the custom built sometimes versus the pre-built is that with the custom built, maybe if one thing goes wrong, you can replace that. But if something else like a pre-build goes wrong, you may not know how things were constructed, and then you have to go through the manufacturer, which is not always a pleasant process to go through. But yeah, so yeah, those are just some of the things that I've had to go through and do. But you know, overall, I really feel that game streaming games is really a lot of fun, but you have to be strong in regards to your audience and the things that they say. It's not always it's not always fun, and it's not always pleasant. So you have to really be strong, but you play your games and you enjoy it. That's what's important to me. At the end of the day, you have to enjoy what you do. So like always, to conclude here on Sin TV Gaming, I will be putting this graphics card in, and I'm going to be starting off with our featured game of the month, which is Revelation Online. And the reason why is so many of you requested for me to play this game. So I will play it, and I'll go through it for a whole month. And then at the end of the month, I'll let you know what my impressions are, kind of talking more about the game and all of that. And I'll be playing all of my games with a controller, because you can play a lot of MMOs with just a controller. You just have to program the controller to work with the movements of the game itself. And sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's not. And there are games, which are some of the games I'll be playing too, that are optimized to use a controller. So for example, Terra, all you do is you plug in your controller, it recognizes it right away, and you are good to go. The same thing applies with if you're gaming on your phone or tablet. There are some games that are what are called controller pad supported. So for example, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is one of these games. So I actually have a controller, and as soon as I turn my controller on, it recognizes it via Bluetooth, and then I'm good to go. So yeah, there's so many different options to gaming. You don't have to game a certain way. And if someone tells you that, hey, you should be playing, on your on your PC, no, you play the games that you actually want to play, and you play the games that you enjoy. And that's really what matters at the end of the day. So I really hope you enjoyed this pretty much opening of the first look of the NVIDIA, GeForce 1050 Ti. Say that how many times, but I am going to get some well needed rest, of course. But like I always say, remember to get smart and stay informed.